proud to present Guido Stöcker, a great guitarist from Germany. Well, Guido, tell us about your band you're playing in and what made you what you are.
Yes, hello everybody. I'm the guitar player from a band called Bodigera, brand new band. We just started writing an album. Hopefully it will be end of this year.
Yeah.
We will release it. Hopefully it will function.
We all know the problems.
Yes, it's not that easy, but not that difficult as it used to be.
Yeah.
So what I am.
What influenced you most?
Oh, the most impact, the biggest impact ever, and the reason why I started playing and the reason why I wanted the guitar made my living was this The Purple Made in Japan album. I heard it a long time ago when I was 9 or 10 years old, and I heard the Smoke on the Water, and I thought, wow, what
Yeah.
power, it's so much punch, and it was just magic there.
Yeah.
And I liked the look
Yeah.
of Richie with his dark clothes, his Fender Stratocaster. It looked cool. I didn't know anything about guitars, but it looked cool. And it
The
sounded
interesting
cool.
fact is that when these days my kids at school come into our music room and start to play the electric guitar, they all play The Smoke on the Water. It's fantastic.
Yes, I think
Richie
it's-
Blackmore, you say, is one of your biggest influences. What makes him unique?
I think what is very important, at that time you didn't have this media that you have today. You didn't have videos, you don't have books, you don't have internet, of course YouTube and stuff like this. These guys have to work with their ears and had to sound it cool. And Richie started very, very early, I think at the age of 16, to work as a recording session guitar player.
Yeah.
So he was rented for playing rock and roll stuff in England at that time, and he
Yeah.
played many stuff.
Yeah.
And of course it had to sound it cool. No matter what the fingering was, it had to sound it cool.
So you studied Richie Blackmore. Can you give us a few examples?
Oh yes, of course. The first thing I tried to figure out was this one here. Some distortion.
Obviously Black Knight.
Obviously, yes.
Another one?
Oh yes. Check out this one. Or check out this one.
The highway space. Yeah, great to hear that sound. Can you tell us a bit about that guitar? It sounds Blackmore-like.
Yes, of course. I always try to create this made in Japan and later on this made in Europe sound. That was always in my mind, and I try to figure out this one. So when I practice I use a little amp, and of course this guitar, it's a Fender Japanese neck with a scalloped neck, factory
Yeah.
scalloped.
Is it a big advantage? Big advantage to have scalloped frets?
I like it because you have a big connection to the string. You don't
Yeah.
feel the wood.
Yeah.
You feel the string. Of course, the disadvantage is when you play chords or when you play this stuff like the Police. This
Yeah.
when you have to stretch your fingers. Maybe when you stretch push too hard,
Yeah.
it will stay.
Yeah.
Go
So
out of
you
tune.
get the impression it gets out of tune.
Yes, and this. But I think it's just you have to work on it, and then it will function.
Yeah.
For my taste, it is very good. And of course, what I like is I like a high action on the guitar because
High action,
a
yeah,
high
I see
action,
that,
yes.
yeah.
Because back in 1969, I had the opportunity to see in the backstage area the second guitar from Richie.
Yeah.
Yes, and I could take it in my hand, and he used really hard strings, I think from
Yeah.
10 to 48, and he had an action wheel with up to 5 to 6 millimeters on
Yeah.
the E6 string, very, very high.
Very high.
And at that time I thought, hey man, this man sounded cool, there must be a reason for this. And then I wrote an interview with Inge Malmsteen, and he said the same thing.
Yeah.
And then I switched to bigger strings, to harder strings, set the section high,
Yeah.
the action high, and everything sounded better at that time.
Yeah.
And so, back to this guitar. It's a light ash body, this
Yeah.
neck, DiMarzio pickups, stacked humbucker pickups.
Yeah.
They sounded like single coils, they look like single coils. I can split them if I want here.
Yeah.
But it's really a singing tone on this guitar.
Yeah. Ah, great. What are you practicing?
What I'm practicing on the moment, I'm just songwriting a little bit because we just have to do this album. But when I practice, I try to to practice different things, not only one thing. So, like for instance, when I practice stuff like this, which I put in one of my songs, you can put it a little bit farther that you play. Then it sounds more classical, more like Bach.
Baroque-like.
Yes, yes.
So arpeggios are these things.
That's one thing I'm practicing just because it's a very good training for the right hand, because you have to have a really relaxed right hand.
Yeah.
So when you practice slow, practice in time that you started off with. And of course you have to check out the movement from your plectrum hand. Meaning in this case, don't stroke, pull off, upstroke, don't stroke, don't stroke. You have to start, in this case we have to start with an upstroke. It doesn't function any other way, because otherwise you don't get this tempo. So when you are not working correct with the plectrum, it doesn't function.
And it only works with a heavy plec, What is it, a Jim Dunlop thing?
It's a Jim Dunlop thing, 1.5 millimeters. I think the kind of plectrum is personal taste. You know, I like this one, you can't break them anywhere. What I like about this is you have the punch on the string, you control. When you have it, when the plectrum is too thin, the plectrum moves and then comes the tone. And I don't like that. Aldo Meola, of course, does it this way, and
he does not play a heavy plectrum.
No, I think he plays thin ones, but double. He took two and put it together.
He glues it together.
Yes. And
I've heard the story about Jeff Beck. The doc, he told it to me, Doc Heine. He said Jeff Beck, he lost his plectrum on stage and didn't find it, and then he said this was the last time, and he started to play only with thumb and fingers.
Yes, it's one of the legends about Jeff Beck. He said, I was too drunk to find it back, so I started playing with fingers. The advantage with the fingers is every tone is different. You can put a really high check on the string. You know, there's this. Sometimes it's very interesting when you combine it. When you combine fingering and plectrum, like for instance this stuff. And this gives a special sound. So that's one reason why I like the Stratocaster, because it's so clear. You hear the difference. When you put in a rectifier high gain distortion sound, it doesn't function with these things because you don't hear the dynamics anymore. It's another kind of music you play with these sounds.
Okay, Guido, did we forget anything? Because time's up again, and well, you talked about your influences, about the guitar, about what amp do you use here?
Here for this case I use a PV Classic 30.
And on stage?
On stage normally I use a Bogner stack.
And
2 old Marshalls for the effects. So if possible the stage is big enough, I use 3 tops, 3-way system, but the main sound system is the Bogner and a good Strat.
Okay, thank you. Bye bye. Thank you, Guido.
I thank you too.